Hello, welcome to another episode of Back to the City. I'm Simon Calder, and today I'm very excited to be joined by CHRISTY Costello. Welcome.
Hi.
A couple of days ahead of your record release at the 7th Street Entry, CHRISTY Costello and full band, of course. You have a full band. We're going to be releasing the first record with this band,
Yes.
which is called From the Dark.
It is.
With you, you'll have Screamin' Sin Sin, and the Pon Pons.
And the Pons.
And the Pons.
Short for tampon.
Ah, I love it.
Yeah.
Screamin' Sin Sin, aka Cynthia Bunsen, is on one of the tracks.
She is. She
Yeah.
does a tantrum. She screams.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Also, at the show, we have Scrunchies and Citrus Dummies.
Yeah, citric.
And citric dummies.
I know, you want to say citrus. I do too sometimes. Squeeze a little lime on that cut.
You have Cynthia on Tantrum. We have Carnegie Executioner on another one of the tracks.
Patty Costello on one too.
Yes, playing the bass.
Yeah.
Your husband, of course.
Yes.
Cynthia's spoken word bit and Carnegie Executioner's spoken word bit.
Yeah.
Those are really great moments.
Yeah.
How did those come about? Did you kind of commission them, so to speak, or did they come up with those spoken word bits, or did you?
Yes, I looked at them and I said, "You will be on my record with my vampire eyes," and do as I say. I'll start with Cynthia. Cynthia and I met in, I think, 2003 when Ouija Radio started getting out of the city. We played locally a lot in the Midwest area in Madison, and we ended up coming across them with another band we played with called Awesome Car Fun Maker. And they were at that show, and we became friends with them and planned another show in Madison with them. And we started playing shows with them, and that would be 20 years ago, and that was with Ouija Radio, if I didn't say that already.
So that's one of the bands you've been in the past. Bon Bondies, of course, is another.
Yep. So Ouija Radio was a band, I'd say the first real band that I recorded with and started really taking seriously.
What was your role in that band?
I was the songwriter, the singer, and the guitar player. So there's been different lineup changes in that band as well throughout the years. All of them, I consider everybody that's been in that band, I feel like it's a family member to me. Ouija Radio came to a halt when I joined the Von Bondies in 2008. We still played some shows, but Von Bondies took precedent of my life at that point. But going back to our meeting with the Screamin' Sin Sin and the Pons, started playing shows together and became fast friends. They were one of the funnest bands I've ever seen. They know how to throw a great party.
And again, they're playing with you in a couple of days on Saturday.
Well, and that's the thing, is they don't play very much anymore. In Madison, their hometown, they're legends. Like, some people call me, like, oh, I don't know where that came from.
You're a legend.
I see it all the time, and I'm like, am I that old? I mean, legends
One doesn't have to be old to be a legend.
Okay. Basically, they are that in Madison. The singer, Shane, moved to New York City, I think in 2010. So they stopped playing a lot of shows, but they toured around the country and did a lot. We were on a label together out of Madison called Crustacean Records. Shane became a writer for the New York Times eventually. He started with video. He was a video editor, maybe. Sorry, Shane, if I'm getting the story wrong. Anyway, and Cynthia and Shane, Christian, they're all the members of the band. They became good friends, kind of disbanded, and they get back together for reunion shows in Madison. They invited me down to play one this summer. It was fantastic. That gave me the bug when I decided to, when the record release was going to be. I called them. I didn't think it would happen because now, Shane is out in New York City, and it takes a lot to get them to come up from Madison, and especially February.
But that was part of your dream bill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the first
they were
attempts that you made.
Right, and then Scrunchies, of course. I've loved all the bands Laura Larson's been in. I started booking her. I almost want to say her band was maybe she was still a teenager when I first saw her play in Baby Guts. But they would play Statues, one in the several clubs, venues, I should say dive bars I've booked in the city. And yeah, I just watched all her bands and really love scrunchies right now. I think they're great.
I love scrunchies too.
They're just so fun and fast, and my it's just my cup of tea.
And I did see the footage that you shared of Sinsin and the Ponds. And
that party we played at.
Absolutely, yeah. And they are so fun, aren't they? I'm excited for them and for Scrunchies, for everything really.
Putting them together with Citric Dummies to me is going to be really like powerful, because Drew Isles of Citric Dummies is also a great front person. And just there's no filter when they talk. Both him and Shane, the front people of the bands. They say what's going on. They know how to talk to an audience. It's always, can I swear on this?
Absolutely.
Fucking hilarious. And fancy and fun and raw. It's got claws. It's also, I mean, I look at Citric Dummies and I just see like give no fucks. And I feel like Screaming Simpson and the Ponds are the same way, but with pageantry.
With pageantry, yes.
They actually get all dressed up, but still give no fucks. And it's going to be so much fun to have the melding of all this in one show.
It is a nice coherent bill, isn't it?
Yeah.
You were saying about...
I splurged for lights, so it's going to look really fun in the audience, too.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Well, it's worth it, isn't it? Well, if you manage to get that bill together, you want it to...
I'm going out for it. And she's choosing the entry was... it's where I had my first record release with Ouija Radio back in the 90s, so it's just kind of coming home.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely. So you were saying about kind of no filter, letting loose. I'm interested in the specifics of what Cynthia is saying on Tantrum and how that came about. After we have eaten, we'll retire to the parlor. Crying, screaming, we will engage in parlor games.
Yeah.
So what was the genesis
Comes
of
from it's
that?
actually it's the tantrum she has in one of her own Screaming Simpson in the Ponds called Set the Table, Set the Table. It's all about her having this dinner party, and this is a very interactive audience song too. So it's all about her having a party, and you know how sometimes you overdo it as the host of a party and you get the blues. It's almost like the day you have a birthday party for yourself and you realize you hate it.
Yeah, so much pressure.
Like, you know that feeling?
Yes, I do, yeah.
I feel like she encompasses that feeling in this song called Set the Table. And eventually she just blows up into this tantrum. And when I wrote Tantrum, I wanted to have a tantrum in there. So I called her, and she was at a conference for her job in San Diego. And I really needed it because I was in the studio. And she's like, give me like an hour. And apparently she went on break at the lunch break into this parking lot and stood there on her phone and screamed the tantrum. It was kind of awkward when a couple people walked by. And I'm sitting there like, buttons, I've got the buttons, you've got the, like the tantrum it's kind of perfect. And I actually didn't know what buttons was because I've never played that parlor game.
Neither have I.
It's something about like you pass around a button and people have to pretend they don't know who has this button. I mean, maybe later on when the show is over, I'm gonna ask those guys at my house because I think they're staying with me. I'm like, okay, we're gonna play some buttons.
Gonna play a parlor game.
Yeah, play a parlor game. Maybe we'll even play charades in the middle of the night.
So was it Cynthia's decision to recreate that bit, or did you ask specifically the recreation?
I said she can do something else if she wants, but I think because she was on a job and she had to think fast, because I was in the studio and I was finishing the song and I was like, I need it. I told her prior, but I think it got lost like when I needed it. But she got it done and she did it over her phone, and then I got it's so great technology works like this, you know. It sounded great over the phone, and we threw the track on, manipulated it a little bit, and it was kind of cool because it does sound like an old with the way the effect is on there.
It works well, doesn't it?
Yeah, like I like the telephone effects sometimes for vocals anyway, but
yeah.
And then in between that, I am actually reading the verse that you would, if you look up the dictionary for tantrum, crying, screaming, and then she does the thing. That's my voice underneath giving me the definition of
what a tantrum is.
A tantrum is, yeah. But yeah, I mean, the song came because like when I wrote it a few years ago, my daughter was younger than she is now, and getting her up in the morning was, she's like me. It's hard to get up in the morning, right?
Yeah.
Hard to go to
I have
school.
a 5-year-old in my
Yeah.
house who's not always
So
happy about
you're
things,
actually
so-
still at tantrum stage, I think. Those tantrums, they last very
Well,
short, but they're really
I'm
intense.
just
You're
about
like,
over my
"Oh."
tantrums. Joking
I'm not
about-
over
about
mine, and
son.
my husband's surely not over his. We have our tantrums.
Speaking of kids, let's turn to the opening track, Campbell Soup Kids. There's the focus in the chorus on simplifying what's complicated,
Yes.
and then also baby steps to learn a new language. And I think this idea of simplifying what's complicated, or things being simple, there's a reference to the smartphones being pretty dumb at the end. These introduce themes that I think recurs throughout the record. And
Absolutely.
there's a sense throughout the record that we're kind of careening towards disaster.
I wrote this song. It was originally going to be on a Pink Mink record, and it did come out. And then we started playing it in the next band I was in, Butcher's Union. And it came, that was around right when smartphones really started to. What year did the smartphone come out? Now was it 2009?
I don't know.
I think it was,
Okay.
because we were all waiting. Everybody was waiting in line around. I think people slept on the street for 3 days to get one. Do you remember the phenomenon? Anyway, it goes to that, and then around that time we started experiencing our first tangled webs from it. We started seeing stuff on social media we hadn't seen before, and we started seeing hackers. We started seeing people call people out. And it started getting nasty all of a sudden, you know? And that was the first eye opener. But also, being you would know this subject very, very well. Our personal communications were breaking down. We, as humans, are meant to be more communal.
Yeah.
And in interpersonal communications, for example, we are taught that this was before a smartphone even, but when we started going online and communicating just through a keyboard in our houses back in the 90s, they started talking about how we were already going through such changes in our communities because of drive-ins, because the fact mom and pop stores were closing down because of convenience, and you would no longer see your neighbor as much because you just didn't need to go anywhere in your community to get things, or to go to the pharmacy to get your prescription and wait in line next to your neighbor.
Yeah. So
Now,
for
I'm
example,
talking like 20, 30 years ago. So I grew up in this period where we had to do all that stuff. And it became less and less when you could drive through everywhere to get your food, drive through everywhere to get your prescription. And then instead of going and even calling somebody, you could start just typing them, so you don't even hear their voices anymore.
Just give me this.
And
I
here
need
we are
this.
now, where we've even shortened how we speak into memes. Yes.
Everything's an acronym.
Even aliens. Because they've been telling people we're fucked. That's the message all the abductees say, that when they've been communicated with. The aliens say our own technology is going to destroy us. We need to stop.
Well, that seems, maybe we don't need the aliens to tell us that. It seems quite plausible. Yes.
I feel that we are a society now that can just decide and judge everybody we want by somebody who throws something up online, and it's not fact yet. It's and lies are spread, and truth. I mean, who knows the difference right now?
Right.
We can just put a scarlet letter on somebody if we want. We can
Yes, that
also.
certainly is a thing.
It's easy to. Everything is just so easy to get that we've lost that just sense of having to get up and go and get it, you know? And I don't know if that's a healthy thing either.
These themes definitely come up again in Great Divides. The sense of disconnection. There's so much fighting, and it's so contagious and uncurbed.
We already know what's going on. I don't have to retell this to everybody out there, but it's obvious how it all plays a big part.
In your record, though, there is also this kind of earnest yearning for the connection and a commitment to. There's an awareness too, a discerning awareness that there is a need for and a possibility of connection. I miss seeing you. You've been there my whole life. now we're on opposite sides.
Empathy.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like certain people lose that too. I'm an empathetic heart, so I've seen like people I grew up with, went tubing with, ate pie with, went to fireworks with, played softball with, you know, games growing up as kids, went to birthday parties with, completely separate from each other because of a political view or.
And that's what you're
a little bit, and I don't like to go way
Divide.
too into that, but let's call a spade a spade. That's happening, and it's going to get worse.
Is it fair to say you're kind of reflecting on a decrease of like critical thinking? There's a lyric in Great Divide, zero reflection, forgetting who we are.
Forgetting who we are.
Yeah, and connection with oneself as well, the different aspects of oneself. Well, it makes me think of the lyric about, in the title track, anchoring, or what's the alternative to anchoring?
Or floating.
Floating, yeah. And it
moving.
seems like there is the risk of losing one's anchor. There's also a reference to center of gravity in one of the songs.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the same song?
That one's about escapism. How do we get somewhere sometimes when we're stuck besides, you know, because there's a lot of stuff that comes down on us, and depression is a real thing.
There's a good cause for it, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, we are also a society that is kind of forced into Western medicine. And I don't believe so much in it. I mean, I believe it's necessary in certain aspects. I mean, there are people who are born on spectrum and need it, like ADHD, Asperger, all that. That stuff is real. I'm not denying that. And so if you need medicine for that, that's great, and it is helpful. I just think there's so many other alternatives that we're blocked from. And my centering in that was because I found my own journey through other means. Yeah,
absolutely.
And explored my own mind enough to find my way out of dark situations. And it was a little bit psychedelic, if I might say.
I know the kind of thing that you mean.
But very rewarding in my mental feelings.
Yes.
And that's really what that one for me was about. Like, I've had so many friends kill themselves, like not getting out of dark spaces, that I'm just sick of all the things I've heard them try, and we're just not given all the resources we need.
The record is called From the Dark, but the full sentence in the song From the Dark is from the dark comes the light. You were just talking about battling the darkness. Could you expand a bit on that central statement in the record, from the dark comes the light?
When you're in your darkest place, sometimes you feel trapped, heavy, you can't move. And you feel like incredibly alone. And I mean, that's the reason some people just go and decide what they're gonna do. I feel that it's it's like crawling out of a tunnel or a cave sometimes, you know, and I've gone up and down in those places myself multiple times. Not so much for years now. I've been pretty balanced, but there was a time where I didn't know. I had those feelings of despair and like loathing of my own self, deprecation. But every time I got out of that funk, something new would happen. It was like feng shui of personal self. Like I've read books on feng shui. They just say even organizing your sock drawer and matching those lonely socks that you know been meaning to figure out.
Absolutely, yeah.
All of a sudden, the phone rings, and you've got an opportunity. Somebody like called you to do something that you didn't expect you were going to do. And you have something brand new in your life happening. I swear, it works like that.
Yeah, this speaks to my experience too.
Yeah, you just talked to me before we went on about your dark month you had and how many things came at you and how
Yeah.
Right now, it seems to be just like everything's going skippity.
Short story, I did Dry January,
Yeah.
primarily to save some money, and then so many costly things occurred, and but I carried on not drinking, even though the original idea of saving some money has gone out the window. And then as soon as we got into February, I
Something
passed my
happened.
challenge, and then
You
know,
never
all kinds
see
of
that
things
when you're in the
came together.
darkness, you know?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Oh no, not at all. It's a
It's
conversation.
hard.
Back and forth.
It's incredibly hard.
I like that there's the lyric "Dance with Me" in the title track as well,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that on a level that I think hopefully a lot of people can relate to, even something like just going with friends dancing, I think is so good for my well-being.
Endorphins, soul.
Yeah.
Like, not everybody dances though, so
Right.
I'm saying
So just
that
one
whatever
example.
is your dance.
Yes.
You know? It's just there's so much that moment where you know that you're going to have a fun day again.
Yeah.
That fun, what makes you spark.
But you've referred to endorphins, the body,
The body.
and so there are these ways of taking care of ourselves that I think that the record is encouraging the listener to
Yeah.
maybe have more faith in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the message, really. Like,
Yeah.
I have a lot of it goes to my daughter too. I mean, she struggles,
That comes through.
but
in-
that dance line is like her moments of pure joy too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we need to find that in the darkness. We need to find our celebration too, and what makes us go and what inspires us, and that, like I said, that can be very difficult. So, it's like crawling out, you know, like you can.
We
And
can.
sometimes you have to crawl out because
Yeah.
it's very difficult to get out.
And in our experience, there are moments, we stumble upon moments that can be celebrated, moments of celebration and festivity.
Absolutely.
And the record kind of reminds us of these and encourages us to find sustenance.
Yeah, and spirituality too. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily like veering towards religion. And if I believe that if you have a religion and you have a faith, that's wonderful because you know what you're doing then. You know exactly where your mind is going. But spirituality itself, it's healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. Faith and doubt are really important themes in the record. In the second track, Sus, which deepens the investigation of the kind of issues that we've been talking about. You know, we're looking at, but things seem sus.
All the time online. I had identity theft. I'm not gonna lie. That was really bad because it's not just a lot of people have to go to the bank and cancel their cards because something came through that wasn't theirs. But this is like your old social security number, everything. You have to go to the police department and you have to file a report. And every year I'm supposed to resubmit it because my number can go back out there and into the world, and it's just it's daunting to me.
Oh, wow, every year you have to resubmit it.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of weird ways that people can get it, and often, I mean, there can be a phone call, there can be like a weird unsubscribe, because like a lot of times you're like, I subscribe to that, just from like stuff you buy online to, you know, and it's just there's so much scam likely out there now. And I also my kid has like they all play that Among Us game.
But which game?
Among Us. Well, it was one at the time she was. It's probably for little. It's like one of those online games like Roblox, Minecraft.
Okay, yeah.
But the characters are all on a spaceship.
Okay.
And they're all, you know, you're playing with people online, and one amongst all the people is like a perpetrator, you know, no gooder. But you don't know who you're playing with yet. You have to kind of guess who the bad guy is.
There's
The
one
suspect,
among
the
us.
sus.
Ah, the sus.
And I would just hear her go, that guy's sus. And that's sus. And I was just like, you know what else is sus? Everything I'm doing right now. Like, but you know, there's just so much, like I said earlier, like there's so many people that use the internet and I think abuse it a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And then in response to that, this song and the record says, "Wise up, see the sus."
See the sus.
So it's taken as a given that there's all kinds of duplicity, all kinds of dysfunction
Yeah.
in the culture. That's the scene that the record sets and responds to in in positive ways.
It's still fun though, the record.
Oh yeah, I mean it has to be.
Fun at
That's
it
part
too,
of the
you know,
remedy, I
it's
think.
thematic where we're living in this time now. There's no getting around it.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm in doubt. I want to believe is in the chorus of Sus.
Right. When you hear something, you're instant to be like, I gotta look that up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really. You know, that's how we are.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
because
we read everybody else's comments, and
Yeah.
then we try to figure. You know, we got to figure out what's you know, and like.
if we're wising up and seeing the Sus and aware of duplicity,
Yes.
then we kind of habituate ourselves in a self-preserving way to doubt,
Yeah.
and it's harder to trust.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that focus on doubt that comes in on Sus is there right at the end of the record too in Can't Stand Up, the closing lyrics. I'm on the edge looking out, I'm on the horizon of sunless doubt, and that's interesting because of the dark and light theme. Yeah. So how did you, and this is a co-write
This
with
is
Mike
so. This
Blaha.
song actually, these lyrics mostly were done by Mike Blaha of Blind Shake. I tweaked them. I took some things out, but we did a project together, Blaha and Costello. He actually brought me in on it. He's like, I'd really like you to sing and work on some songs with me. I think we might have recorded 20 songs. We put a couple up on Bandcamp. Then I think Blind Shake disbanded, and he and his wife moved to Key West because he got a teaching job, or she got a teaching job. But in the meantime, he said, use any of these if you want. And
How
they
did
sat
you-
dormant for a long time, so.
How did you make the decision to include this one and have the record end with it?
I just went back to some of those songs and listened to it, and I realized that song just fits, and it fit in my world, and it fit in with how I felt, and it fits in with the end of the record very well, because I like, if you think about things being perennial or change, like major change, like for some of us, we molecularly change ourselves. They say every 7 years, and we become a completely new, I don't know, physical
Totally, yeah.
embodiment of ourselves. I feel like we change more times than that
Right.
entirely.
Yeah.
Our own personal evolution.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's brought major change. It's brought about by things you've done. Maybe you decide to quit substances for good, or something. You lay a part of your character you just kill it,
Yeah. Intentionally.
right? But it's still a part of you.
Yeah, you were
It
talking about
goes
spirituality.
into who you are. Like a tree loses its leaf every year. The leaf turns into the dust. It becomes part of the cycle of, you know. But I feel like our own story is that.
Yeah, like the phoenix being born again from its
Again,
ashes.
the
I
aurora,
love
like
that.
the snake eating its own tail.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's definitely. I even put that. I think I might have put that in like my liner notes on Bandcamp, the snake eating its own tail, or something like that. But yeah, it just fits with the ending of it. Like, it's okay for us to have that kind of a major change, and still be ourselves, and still have growth, you know. And so that was part of that builds us who we are.
Yeah, and perhaps paradoxically, it's through remaining present for that kind of transformation that one remains oneself in the
Yeah.
context where it's very possible to lose oneself.
Absolutely.
We're talking about this connection.
Have you ever, like, when you made that decision, where you finally like break down and you're like, I'm doing this? It makes you feel like you're resting finally, like you finally just.
Yeah. Well, because there's a sense that one can trust oneself at least, and that's a
Exactly.
good starting point.
It's a rebirth again.
Yeah.
It goes back to that, like, you know, let's start over moment. And
Yeah.
even in the beginning of the song, sometimes, even when we do start over, I always find it's helpful to remember things from my youth that make me really happy when I was growing up. Like I said again, some of the more basic things that made me remember who I was as a child.
Like when you were a Campbell soup kid.
When I was when I was eating those Campbell soup cans.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, but it's true. I mean, if you live in America, and I don't know if you had that in England. Did you guys eat Campbell's soup in England?
I think we had Campbell soup, but we weren't kids. We were children.
Well, children,
Kids
yeah.
is a very American
I'm sure that's.
thing, and so I don't
And
have
this
the
is a
same
jumper,
connotations.
right?
A jump? Yeah, it is a jumper. Yeah. Yeah, it's a very cool.
Because we have ugly sweater parties for Christmas. And I was like looking at some of my friends.
This is definitely
in England,
not
like,
an
ugly
ugly
jumper
sweater.
party. And I was like, yeah, that was great.
You just said Darren's going to be capturing
Yep,
some of the
I've got,
record
he said
release
he'd
on
come shoot
Saturday.
the show. Hopefully I can use him in many photo shoots. He's just incredible, and it seems to work with me. I met him when my first shoot about this record was for Dispatch like a year ago, and he was sent by Dispatch to come shoot me, and I was like, came in and we did it in 20 minutes, and I saw his photos and I went, dang, that's really, really fast and really good. He's like, I'm really quick. I'm like, that. I like that.
So one option for viewers is to just wait for Darren's wonderful photos. There'll be record of the lovely lights that you're going to be bringing, and Sinton and the Ponds, and Scrunchies, and Citric Dummies.
Citric Dummies.
But of course, better than looking at the photos, I do that too, but better than looking at the photos is to come. It's this Saturday.
To come. It'll
come
be
and
a really
join us.
special night. Lots of shenanigans.
Yeah, Saturday,
will
February
have-
17th. $15, 18 plus, 7 p.m. doors.
I mean, it might be 7:30, but
Okay.
I mean, if you get there early, go get yourself a knot dog or whatever from
The depot.
the depot. Yes, thanks for helping me there.
Yeah, that's what it will be. This coming Saturday, presumably, Cynthia will
Yeah, you can come
join
see
in.
Cynthia Tantrum.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure if Carnage is going to be there or not. He might be. But yeah, we'll be having, and we have some fun things in store. A couple surprises.
Some surprises.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to try and be there. Hopefully you'll certainly be there. You'll be very, very present.
I'm gonna knock on wood.
Come and join it. Come and join us.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me today,
Thank
Christy.
you for having me, Simon.
You're very welcome. That was a fun journey.
Oh, give me a high five.
Yeah, we did it.
That's so sports.
Yeah. And thanks for joining us, too, viewers. See you on Saturday. Back to the City will be back next Thursday, and our guests will be Unstable Shapes, who are just about to join me in the MCN6 TV studio to film that episode. So, yep, on the Thursday 22nd, 10 p.m. on MCN6. Join us again for Unstable Shapes. I've been Simon Calder. This is Back to the City. This is CHRISTY Costello. We will see you at the 7th Street entry on Saturday.